Why does it feel so important to be right? Why do disagreements escalate so quickly? And why can even small conflicts leave us feeling defensive, annoyed, or misunderstood? I think we can all agree we live in a moment where everyone seems certain about their opinions, their political candidates, certain about their viewpoints, certain that they see things clearly and everyone else is just missing something obvious. But underneath all of that certainty, there's something deeper that I think is going on. One, we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed, and we're clinging to being right because it feels like the last bit of control that we have left. And so today, on this episode, we're talking about why certainty has become such a powerful addiction and what it actually looks like to just sort of loosen our grip and lead with a little bit more curiosity so we can find wisdom in a world that insists on being right. Welcome to the Wisdom of Wow podcast. Welcome back to the Wisdom of Wow podcast. Here is the big question. What if wisdom requires letting go of the need to be right? I'm not asking you all listening in. I'm asking Kate. She is an expert.
Eject. Get me out of the chair. I don't know what you're talking about.
We've had so many moments in our marriage where it's like, why are you even thinking about going to bed right now? Rip off the covers, get up. We are figuring this out.
That is me. Because I... Here's the deal. This is going to be a fun one. Here's the deal. It is not about, in that moment, it is not about me being right.
Uh-huh.
It is about being completely incapable
of being wrong,
of going to bed without resolution.
But the resolution is I need to know that you know that I'm right.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We can get there in a roundabout kind of way. But no, I don't. I think eject.
Therapist. We need a therapist button.
In the words of Robin Williams in the movie Hook, this parachute is a knapsack.
Okay, kidding aside, I'm partially teasing her, but this is true in marriage. It's true in life. You don't have to be in a marriage to understand this. This is a big deal. This happens with friends. Friendships are being lost right now over stuff like this. Work, relationships, partnerships, like business partnerships fall apart over this. And everything is political now, which has made us incredibly divided. It's just we're at each other's throats. And time after time again, it comes back to this illusion of certainty. I call it an illusion because it really feels like we live under this illusion of certainty. Yeah. Like I'm right, you're wrong, and I just can't even reconcile any form of reality in my story where we could actually coexist until you come over to my side and acknowledge that I'm right. And so I think it's tied back to our obsession with certainty, which is tied to a bunch of other things that I'm excited to explore.
Great.
Go, take it away.
I have no
I'm just joking.
obsession with certainty. Why? I 100% have an obsession with certainty. It's fine.
I think one of the best places to begin is just, some of the feedback that we've gotten about this podcast, because one of my insecurities going into this concept, when we as a team were like, okay, we want to do more podcasting in 2026. And here we are. We've got multiple podcasts going. I'm loving doing this one with you. And yet there was a little bit of insecurity associated with the idea of what is essentially the topic of wisdom, especially if it's
how do you nail that down?
Yeah, how do you nail that down? And what is the wisdom of wow? And here we are in our 40s. Well, you're now in your 20s now that we're on episode 6 or 7 or something like that.
I'm going to keep Benjamin buttoning me all the way back.
And yet, like, who are we to be the authority on the answers to life's biggest questions or things that our culture is really struggling with? Like, we're just not experts at all this stuff. And so the thought behind this podcast was, okay, but if wisdom begins in wonder, can we just wonder about some stuff out loud and just be honest and vulnerable and human? And so we were talking to someone about the show, and I was just like, oh, cool. Like, I'm glad you're enjoying it. What do you feel like has been most helpful? And I remember him saying, like, it's just nice to see two people being human about the real stuff. I'm like, what kind of real stuff? It's like growing a company, having kids, trying to have a healthy marriage. It's the real stuff.
Mhm.
And I think that hit close to home going into the recording of this episode, because we're talking about our obsession with certainty on a podcast
Mhm.
where we admit that we don't have certainty, where we're literally just here asking questions, having conversations, trying to wrestle what we hope is some wisdom to the ground, but not because we have it, but because wonder gave birth to the discernment to help us land on it. So I don't know where you've bumped into this the most, but where I feel it is doing magic shows. And
Oh,
you've
sure.
seen this. I know you've been backstage peeking through the curtains.
Mhm.
You've probably also been the assistant out in the
For
lobby after
sure.
the show where people
Yep.
come up and they're like, okay, he wouldn't tell me the secret, but I bet you'll
Oh,
tell me the
I've
secret.
been offered money. I have been offered all of this stuff. Hey, if you just tell me the secret, I'll pay you. And I'm like, that's great. I'm still going home with them.
Yes.
And I'm not telling you because
Yes.
it doesn't matter.
Yes. So guys, here's the problem. We
Those.
all have these. And like, these aren't the actual problem, but this is part of the problem. Now, this is not an episode about screen time. This is not an episode about like technology is evil. It's just, here's the reality. We grew up in the information age. And by the way, like, for the record, I don't think the information age began with the internet. If you Google like information age, it is all about like the era of the internet being born. But I think the information age began with the printing press. Like when Gutenberg invented the printing press, we may not have started referring to it yet. And there's other ages in there, like you have the Industrial Revolution that
Sure.
happened after that. But it was the time where information, knowledge, life-saving information sometimes could be distributed at scale at a rapid pace.
Right.
And sometimes that was a very good thing.
Right. Because for centuries, if we're talking about the printing press, for centuries, books, texts, any of those kind of things
Mhm.
were held in the hands of only the people who were considered worthy enough to own, consume,
Yes.
and relay them. A lot of times we can look towards like religious texts. The Catholic Church for a very long time held onto the Bible in Latin because the people didn't speak Latin.
Yeah.
And so it was, well, I am the owner of all of the information and the way that this should be interpreted. And we couldn't possibly print this in English
Mm.
because then if the people read it, the people interpret it. If the people interpret it, then what happens next?
Yeah.
And when you have someone who creates a printing press where it's not just, monks in a dusty, narrow, dimly lit chapel trying to do everything by hand, but a literal, we can do this at scale
Mhm.
in many ways. Suddenly, books become less expensive, which means that the common people could purchase them or find them.
And learn how to read.
And learn
People didn't even know how to
they
read.
didn't learn how to read.
Because why would you invest your time learning how to read if there was nothing on paper to read?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it was, I just listened to all of these people over here. Tell me what it is that I should know about these things. And, I think there's even centuries later,
Mhm.
people still are attempting to hold all the information as I am the sole interpreter of said information because I am the smartest. I have the most certifications. I have
Yeah.
the most something.
Yeah.
And you couldn't possibly understand what I know.
Yeah. And so in some ways, the information age was a really good thing. It gave us
Yeah.
access. Like a doctor could do a surgery and go, oh, dang, that didn't work. That person died. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Oh my gosh, that worked. Okay, I'm going to write it down.
Yeah.
Gutenberg, can you print me a few thousand copies of these? Like, all right, get some dudes on some horses, ride these books around the world, give them to all the other doctors. And all the other doctors were like, oh. And then all of a sudden,
Right.
information equaled quite literally the difference between life and death, which is a very good thing.
Right.
So lots of amazing things happen in the world as a result of the information age.
But with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, totally. In more ways than one.
Yes.
And so now think about that. So the information age, if you're entertaining this concept and theory of mine, if it actually began with the invention of the printing press, fast forward to 2026, or not even 2026, fast forward to the birth of the internet, right? Now, all of a sudden, that information is abundant enough that it can be synthesized. Then we have the ability to stream videos. Now, fast forward, you're a magician and you're on stage doing a magic trick and you have a phone in your pocket. And now, because of rapid access to the secret, seemingly to anything, we feel really uncomfortable with awe and wonder. And so the moment I feel wonder in response to some form of mystery, it feels so uncomfortable that I feel like I have to Google it. And then Google came and took the quest out of the question. It created answers that came with a sense of instant gratification. And like I cannot tell you the number of times, for years I was known. One of these signature things that I did on stage was making a table levitate. And as the table would start to levitate, like 20 years ago, people would be like on the edge of their seats. Like you remember because you
could not take their eyes off of it.
You were touring with me at the time.
Hitting the person next to him going, are you watching this?
Yeah. They're like, what in the world? And like, I kid you not, this is not an exaggeration. These days, if the table starts levitating, it's what you just described for probably at least a few seconds. And then you start to see this happening. Mm-hmm. And it's rarely you have to reach into your pocket. It's usually already in someone's hand, right? It's like glued to their hand. But before the trick even ends, I'm like, guys, there is a table freaking levitating on stage right now. Like this table is levitating. And you're like, I got to look this up on YouTube. And so I have so many memories of the table levitating and sort of like glancing out of the corner of my eye, and so many occasions seeing like people of all ages on the front row pulling out their phones. And you can see, because I'm elevated up on stage, you can see their screens. And they are quite literally on YouTube looking up the secret to the trick that's being performed on stage actively, and it hasn't even finished yet. And look, curiosity is not a bad thing, but there are two different types of curiosity. There's almost like this faux sense of curiosity that that says, I want to know and I need to know and I demand answers. That's not really curiosity. There's a really fun study where, scientists essentially researched creative thought, out of the box thinking, innovation, and they noticed that creative breakthroughs were associated with this neural cocktail inside of your brain where all these chemicals are all present at the same time. And those chemicals, that neural cocktail that's associated with creative thinking and innovation, those chemicals are not present during the type of curiosity where we're just looking for an answer to the question to remove this sense of tension that we feel. They're only present during the type of curiosity that is more equal to a willingness to go on a journey and be surprised by what we learn along the way. It doesn't mean that journey can't start with an intention of what you want to discover, but it's like asking AI compared to like going to a library and like flipping through pages and really looking for the answer, or doing what we're doing right now, like sitting down with a friend over a cup of coffee. I hate coffee, but a cup of tea.
A cup of
And like having a serious conversation and just exploring and being surprised by what you might discover along the way. And so the way I think about this is it really feels like the information age psychologically reconditioned us to feel really uncomfortable with wonder and mystery. We saw mystery as a threat instead of seeing a mystery as something beautiful. And that doesn't mean that a mystery isn't worthy of being explored. It's just certainty isn't something that we should demand. And that's what's gotten us into this spot that we are today, where that need, that addiction to certainty is what is driving so much divisiveness.
So fascinating. I mean, this is 100% in your wheelhouse. This is what you talk about. This is what you write about. This is the stuff that you live and breathe every single day. So I have been watching this kind of play out over over 2 decades,
Sure.
just figuring this out. I'm curious. I have so many questions in my head right now. But I'm curious, like, what do you feel like is the thing that drives us to like not seek or leverage true curiosity?
Well, it's conditioning, right? Like, I mean, if you guys were to ever go look up and study the science on this as an exploration, not as like a seeking of the answer, certainty offers the illusion of control. So especially in those moments where we feel insecure, or especially when the culture around us is unstable, when it feels like things are falling apart, like, oh, we just heard of these two countries being at war. Everything feels unstable. And so we crave certainty because certainty gives us the illusion of safety. Um, if you go research how the brain works, the brain rewards certainty with dopamine. We love dopamine. We're all addicted to it right now.
Yep.
And so certainty rewards our brain with this feeling of being right. And so it just makes matters worse because our body like chemically reinforces that illusion. And likewise, ambiguity, the unknown, it tends to trigger this like threat response. Like you guys have felt this. Well, first of all, everyone is navigating change. The pace of change has been accelerated.
Oh, it's just so rapid.
It's unprecedented, at least for our lifetime. And as a result, we're like, certainty isn't even an option anymore. Like the information age may have given us what felt like an abundance of certainty, and that might have been an illusion. But now I like even talk to people who used to be addicted to a certainty, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't even know anymore." It's like they've been so humbled by the pace of change that everyone's just going, "Yeah, I used to pretend like I knew or thought like I knew, and now I just don't." And so we're being confronted with some stuff that we have to wrestle with that we have not been equipped to wrestle with. And so it's kind of the Wild West right now. And I mean that both metaphorically and literally. Something that we've been talking about a lot, both last year at Story Conference and like a lot of the stuff that we're leading clients through right now and consulting with companies with is this transition from the information age to the imagination age. And the currency of the information age was information, it was knowledge. And you and I are experiencing some shifts in education as a result of that, like the way we're educating our children.
Because the smartest person won.
Yeah. And what made someone the smartest?
The school they went to, the certifications that they got, the letters that came after their name or before their name.
Totally.
It was all of those pieces.
Totally. And now I can sit down with someone who is highly educated and everything that they know, I can be like, cool, got all of that class, every class you took right here in my pocket, $20 a month, Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean that Chat GPT gives me the experience
Right.
that you lived out in the process of attaining that degree. But in general, and this is an oversimplification, in general, our education system, I think you agree with this, is built around the collection of information and knowledge. Read this, memorize it, so that you can answer these questions when you get asked on the test.
And then when you take the test, make sure you get the right score so that you can go to the right college, so you can
Yes.
get the right job.
Yes.
And really, a lot of that information is either completely irrelevant
Yes.
or it's it's irrelevant because it's out of date.
Yeah.
It's like this is not the pace of change is happening so fast, and we are kind of tuning it all out and putting our hands over our ears and over our eyes and going, no, 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 we're not going to see it, we're not going to touch it, and that's changing as well. There are educational systems that are recognizing that the students they have today in elementary school and middle school, there are jobs that don't even exist yet.
Yeah.
For them. And so they're training them to understand less about skill and more about what are the questions I need to be asking? What are the ways I need to show up curiously
Yep.
to make sure that as things shift and change, I can actually keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what is the currency then of the imagination age? If the currency of the information age was knowledge, but we're moving out of a knowledge-based economy because knowledge is now abundant and cheap, what is the new currency? And I think that's what everyone's wrestling with. I'm not the first person, and we are not the first people to talk about the imagination age. That started with some futurists back in the late 90s who were writing articles trying to make sense of like, hey guys, it feels like there's so much information now, and the internet is doing such a good job at organizing it. There's going to come a time where it's far less valuable. And so there's going to be a new paradigm, a new age that emerges. And we think it's going to be the age of imagination. And now here we are, wrestling with how do we spend our time and our lives doing the things that only humans can do, because AI can give me answers to my questions, but unless I give it a question first, it's not going to start by taking me down the path. It can't read my mind unless I give it some insights, right? And so I think we're moving out of a knowledge-based economy to a wisdom-based economy. And that's what I feel like not enough people are talking about. I actually don't know anyone else talking about it, because while knowledge might give you the answers, wisdom helps you ask the right questions. And so if wisdom is about asking the right questions, and the people who win in the future are the ones who are able to discern what questions to ask. That means we need wisdom. And so where do we get wisdom? Wisdom begins in wonder, which is why we're talking about the wisdom of wow. And so when it comes back to this topic that we're talking about, certainty, and all of the stuff that's connected to it, the cultural divides, the discomfort when we're outside of what we know, your ability to thrive in the future, it all comes back to wonder. Think about what the opposite of this is. Social media algorithms, they're not interested in wonder. They're interested in amplifying the certainty that you feel like you've already embraced, right?
Yeah.
So once we start liking stuff and the whoever the overlords are, the controlling the matrix, pulling the strings.
Oh my goodness.
They're like,
They're up
oh,
there.
you're certain that dogs are better than cats? I'm going to show you all the videos that people have
buckle
made
in.
about dogs
Here
being
they
better.
come.
And so it's just reinforce certainty, reinforce certainty, reinforce certainty. Now I'm out with a friend, or even worse, I'm out at a dinner party, meeting new friends, crossing paths with new people. They bring a new idea into my life.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, that's not the case. And now our new relationship doesn't even have the hope of getting off the ground because you represent too much ambiguity. You represent too much potential change. You represent too much discomfort. And as a result, I'm going to stay over here, live in my little illusion of certainty bubble, and then never grow and not experience the beauty of being in a new relationship that makes me curious.
Mm. I feel like we talk about this with our clients inside the Poetics a lot. Oftentimes, a business owner comes into the Poetics and they're like, just tell me what tools I need. Tell me what my tech stack needs to look like. Give me the things that the pieces of the pie that I'm clearly missing.
Yeah.
But it's all tool based. Because if I just had ActiveCampaign, or I just did this, or I just used this fancy thing, or I had a great studio to film this in, then I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just talking with a member of our team last night. I was like, when it comes to social media, they want the template. They want the algorithm is killing me. I'm never going to beat it, which means just give me the template that I need to make sure that my content hits, to make sure that I can I know that it's going to do the thing I want it to. It's going to go viral. It's going to have all of these things. And really, it's like, hey, you know what actually works best? When you show up kind of imperfect. And it's not about the tools. It's not about the certifications that you've got or the things that are hanging on your wall. But you show up as a real human and just go, man, you know what? Like, I know my content has definitely had that effect. The content that I'm like, this is not going to hit. Yeah. And then I'm like, what in the world? And this resonated. And I think I was just being honest, or I was just being very forthcoming versus trying to record it for the 757th time.
Yeah.
To make sure that it was immaculate and perfect and all of these pieces. But it's just like, we have got to show up differently. And the tools and the tech will always be changing. The algorithm will always be changing, which is why that's not a game.
Nope.
That's worth playing. But vulnerability and the wisdom you actually have. We have a client in Northern California who has recently realized, like, all of this collected wisdom over her 60 years of life has led her to this moment. Mm-hmm. And she will admit that she is not the most tech savvy. She doesn't send a lot of emails. She's willing to show up in the messiness of it all. But she had an epiphany, and it was, I just didn't realize that people actually wanted my wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, it's all they want.
We're desperate for
We're desperate for someone to go, hey, I've been over there.
Yeah.
You want to know what it feels like?
Yeah.
You want to know what it sounds like? You want to know what it can do for you? Yeah. That might be for you, but it also might be this.
Yeah. Gosh. Yes. I mean, I think it's why at the beginning of the episode, I was talking about the feedback we've been getting to this podcast. I think that's why that meant so much, because it pushed back against some of my insecurity that just maybe we're tiptoeing our way into the imagination age just enough that maybe some content like this might resonate with people, because it's not just a bunch of certainty and answers and stuff that you could get from ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. You can't get this from ChatGPT because it's two humans exploring and having conversations and debating and asking deep questions. It's what we need right now. And it's what you need right now, right? You need this because, I mean, at the risk of being bold enough to tell you what you need on the heels of saying it's about asking the right questions, what we're really talking about is wonder and how curiosity is wonder in action. Think about it. Wonder, wonder is kind of the opposite of certainty, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, wonder is openness.
Yeah.
Certainty is like, nope, no, I already have my mind made up about this. I've got a story that I'm telling myself. And then if wisdom begins in wonder, well, if wonder opens us up, wisdom begins in the willingness to ask questions and not like spend all of our energy defending our position, right? Certainty is not a protective story. Certainty, actually, no, it's backwards. Certainty is a story of protection.
Yeah.
Certainty is a protective story, right? You're trying to like protect the thing that you know. It's not like a personality trait or something like that, where you're
Right.
like,
This isn't perfectionism. This isn't like, I have to make sure.
I'm a certainist.
Oh, you know what? Someone listening is going to be like, that's me.
I'm a certainist.
certainist.
Are you a certainist?
Are
If that's
you
you,
a
say yes,
certainist?
me in the comments. No, we cling to being right when we are afraid of being exposed, questioned, wrong, misunderstood, so much pain. I have like very recent, I don't know if we should get into it because we're supposed to like share from our scars and not from our wounds. And like I have open wounds still from being misunderstood.
Mhm.
It is so painful. And yet in those stories, I'm just like, what in the world? Like, why would you end this relationship over that? And yet that person was so certain in every one of those examples. I am so certain of who you are that I'm willing to mischaracterize you with others because there's no possible way that I have made a mistake in my interpretation of your character.
Absolutely.
And so, gosh, that misunderstanding thing, it is super
Painful.
relevant and painful. But I think we can all find peace in the reality that when we just let go of our incessant need to be right, which I think is connected to the fact that you can recognize that you live in a culture that is obsessed with the abundance of certainty. Like we can't even believe in anything right now unless it can be explained to us in a 30-second YouTube video. Like we need to see the proof as if seeing is believing. So like to find deeper proof, it doesn't mean losing yourself. And it doesn't mean that you can't go research. Again, it just means maybe don't sure, Google the address or the phone number to the restaurant, but don't Google the meaning of life. What is the meaning of life, right? Like some things should not be entrusted to Google to give you the answer for. Instead, there should be a wrestling of asking some deeper questions. I feel like I'm ranting, which is not the idea of this podcast.
But it's great.
Okay. How in the world do we wrap this one up? Let's go back to questions because that's what I'm feeling insecure about right now is that, yes, I have a strong point of view and some opinions on this. And we're saying, let go of some of your certainty. And yet I am so certain about the transition from the information age to the imagination age and the currency of knowledge to wisdom that I have a strong opinion, but it is just an opinion and maybe I'm wrong. So what are some questions that we can ask this week? I mean, I would start with, what's something that you feel super certain about? And I'm not trying to create a crisis in your life. There's a lot of people of faith with deep religious tradition that hopefully are listening to this. That is sacred. Faith is something that is sacred to us as well. And so I'm not trying to create a crisis of faith by saying, hey, go question everything. But even something like faith coexists with certainty. Like faith isn't equal to certainty. It's that in lieu of certainty not being an option, faith is the thing that we choose, right? I am choosing to believe not because of the YouTube video that proves it. I'm choosing to believe because that is what I'm choosing to believe. I'm choosing faith, not trying to eliminate the need for faith as a result of certainty. So this is not what we're trying to do. I'm encouraging you to pause and ask questions like, what is something that you see differently than I do? Like ask that to another person. Hey, what's something that you see differently than I do? And can you help me understand why? So what's something that you see differently? I'm putting you on the spot again.
Oh, great.
Sorry. I'm not sorry. What's something that you think differently? We don't have to be super controversial. It could be like, I don't know, misinterpret something that you feel like I'm misinterpreting about the world or the way we're raising our children, or, something that or you could pull, if it feels safer, you could pull from something in the past that we have course corrected as a result of you leveraging the discernment of your own wisdom to get us back on the right path.
My goodness.
But let's just offer people a real life example of something where, hey, we were pretty certain about that, and then we realized we were wrong. Is there something that comes to mind for you that you feel comfortable sharing?
Oh my gosh. Not particularly. The thing that I keep thinking about is our mutual friend Preston Dykes
Mm,
and the concept of intellectual humility.
yeah. Oh, that's good.
And the fact that I mean, when you stand at NASA
Hmm.
and you're looking at all of this incredible, incredible feats of humanity and
For
science,
context, Preston
used to
he
be
was
at
head of communications for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
yes,
So it was quite literally his job to tell the public
yes,
stories to help them understand what's going on in space.
correct.
Yeah.
But when you're standing in here and you're walking through rooms filled with like literal feats of human imagination that said, what if it's possible to go there? What if it is, how do we get there? How do we do this better? And we were standing outside the room, and there's a gold, looks like a record, hanging on the wall, and it's got all these different languages. It plays Michael Jackson and Elvis and all this stuff. Explains what this actual craft is and who it belongs to and why it's been sent, so that if any intelligent life out there finds it, they might be able to interpret it. And I remember we looked at him and we're like, hold on, intelligent life? Like, this is NASA. Like, how many people at NASA believe in intelligent life? And like, no, did not miss a beat. Oh, the majority.
Oh yeah, overwhelming majority.
Overwhelming majority.
I'll never forget it.
And you kind of have this moment as an outsider, like, I'm sorry, I have so many questions right now. But also, he described it as an intellectual humility. And the intellectual humility is we don't actually know, which means we have to hold just enough space for it to be entirely possible,
Hmm.
versus intellectual arrogance, which says, I already know the answer. Don't tell me any more. Don't
Yep.
question how I think. Don't question what I see. Everything is static.
Hmm.
And so it's not changing. And he was like, you know, myself and some of his colleagues just try to stay intellectually humble in order to know that there might be things that they just don't know.
Yeah.
And I think when we talk about this concept of curiosity and certainty, and we are designed to hold those things like this. We are holding them with our hands open, going, I don't know everything. Sure, the internet can give me, whether you're a Google person or a Perplexity person or you're using some other AI tool, it's still just culling the information we've already figured out.
Yeah.
And so we have to hold enough intellectual humility to go, I don't know the answers to everything, which means I have to allow the wonder and the wisdom in that to expand a little bit, because that's the thing that keeps us interested in what's next and what else is possible. Okay, well, if we could do that, maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
If we can get a person in an airplane, maybe we can get a person to the moon. I mean, that's that mentality.
Yes.
And without, I mean, these are not well formulated thoughts, but with intellectual arrogance, we go, we made it to an airplane, we're good.
We've conquered. That's the top
We've
of the
done
mountain.
it. You can't go any higher. Versus intellectual humility that says, what if we could go all the way? What if we could live on Mars? What if we could go somewhere else? What else is even out there?
Or even should we?
Or should we?
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to entertain all of those questions without knowing an answer and without getting an answer. I don't know what the answer should be.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave all those doors open so that as life keeps spinning and going,
Yeah.
and the world keeps changing, if we ever find ourselves at that threshold, we have left the door open
Hmm.
and go, yeah, okay, now we can walk through.
Yeah.
Now we can ask more questions about that.
I can say with confidence, I have so much more intellectual humility now at this
Mm.
age than I did in especially my 20s.
Oh no,
I
when
feel
we're
like
20, we feel like we know everything
I
because
don't
we're
know if
adults
everyone's
now.
like that. It's like I certainly did, but like in my 20s, it was like such a lack of like intellectual humility specifically that I was just stressed out all the time.
Hmm.
Cause it's like, oh no, you're like, I have to go around and like I bear this burden of the person who's responsible to make the truth heard. And now I look back and I'm like, gosh, stuff that I fought about, I now don't even like agree with anymore because I saw the mistakes of my foolish ways.
Yeah.
But it's because I had taken the shortcut of trying to Google the answer instead of wrestling with stuff to truly make sense of things that matter. And so I think the problem with certainty is that certainty is really a crisis of imagination. And if we allow wonder to do its work, we can replace the need to be right with the desire to understand. And seeking to understand really does look more like a journey
Yeah.
and not trying to like press the fast forward button to the destination. And with that journey of genuine wonder, I think will become space for more truth.
Mm.
And as we bump into the truth, that will always expand us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe don't just sit down and ask someone only questions about what they're certain or not certain of, but maybe ask yourself, what are things that you feel certain about? Or no, even better yet, sit with the mystery. Ask yourself, what's something that I wish I knew that I don't currently know? And when you bump into the conditioning of our current culture, you being a product of the information age that's been taught, oh, you've got the answer. It's in your pocket at your fingertips. Instead of reaching your fingertips for the keyboard or pulling your phone out of your pocket, just sit there for a little while. Sit in the wow, sit in the wonder. It's okay for you to be curious. At the end of the day, I don't mind if people figure out how the table levitates. I really don't. It's just a magic trick, right? It's that the reason magicians don't reveal their secrets is not, well, there's a lot of reasons, but it's not that we don't want you to know per se. It's that oftentimes, because we had to find out from someone told us, right? It's that it ruins the fun and we don't want to rob you of the magic that is the journey that you go on. And if a couple weeks go by and then you wake up and you're like, oh, wait a second. Cool. Congratulations. You figured out the secret to the magic trick, but you got to go on a really beautiful journey along the way. And that quest of the question, I think, is where the magic lies. All right. I've ranted enough on this one.
I love it. I love when you find yourself in this place, because I think you really, truly are brilliant at seeing so many different angles just because of your background in magic. It's one of the things I very much admire about you
Mm.
is just that you have the ability to step back and go, what am I not seeing? What else might be taking place? Or I don't even want to know what else is taking place because I'm comfortable with not needing to have all the answers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this piece.
Well, that's a kind thing for you to say. I hope that you all listening in are enjoying it as well. I obviously love this question, this topic, and certainty. The fact that certainty is an obsession of our culture and it has made us so divisive, it is kind of like a thorn in my side. And I think that's why so much passion has come out about this. Look, we don't have anything that we're like constantly trying to sell you on this podcast. We did this podcast because we wanted to do it to explore meaningful conversations together. But last second idea, if you have enjoyed this and you're intrigued by this shift from the information age to the imagination age and a shift from a knowledge-based economy to a wisdom economy, and you're like, wait a second, how do I learn to thrive in this new world? Because you feel the change happening beneath your feet. That is one of the things that we at Istoria are super focused on right now. And so there's a bunch of free resources for you at Istoria.com. It's just Istoria.com. Astoria is ancient Greek for the word story. We're all about story and telling better stories and living better stories. But if you go to Astoria.com, there's a button on there. It's easy to find. It just says start here. And if you start here, you can watch a free video series. And it kind of takes what we've talked about in this episode and breaks it down even further to try to more tangibly equip you to leverage the currency of wisdom to thrive in the future of work and the future of parenting and the future of entrepreneurship. So that might be something that you're interested in. All right, it's been fun to wonder together. Yeah.
Love it.
Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for wondering along with us. Thanks for listening to The Wisdom of Wow.